Welcome to SRG Insights, where we answer your questions about sales, sales management, and sales training. And today's question is,
should a salesperson ever push to close a deal? I know many people say a salesperson should push to close a deal. I'm one of those people who, if you push me, you will almost certainly lose. I may buy eventually, just probably not from you. This is partially one reason why I hated salespeople for so long, even though in reality, I was one too. I just never saw it that way.
Well, I really appreciate that question, and I think it's one we've all run into, and frankly, it's one that maybe gives salespeople a bad name. That pushy, slippery salesperson that's trying to get you to buy, that's trying every trick in the book, and guess what? As the question points out, it doesn't feel very good. And so I think we really need to look at what's going on in that situation when the salesperson feels like they have to push, and on the flip side, where the customer or prospect feels like they're being pushed into making a close. What's really going on there? And it really speaks to this idea of being aligned with the buyer and being aligned with the process they're going through to make that purchase. And I think if we don't take time to consider that, then we may be pushing and trying to fulfill our needs, which is to get to the close, and the buyer may be at a very different point in their purchase process. The typical customer or prospect goes through some pretty predictable stages when they're thinking about making a purchase. They may be open even to having a consideration or having a conversation. They really start to focus in on what's important to them and define their priorities and their requirements. And then once they've done that, they may start to gain knowledge about the different solutions and what's actually out there for them to choose from before they enter into an evaluation stage and they start looking at the trade-offs and the pricing and really how the different products or solutions stack up before ultimately they make a decision. And I think, unfortunately, if we're just looking at the salesperson's perspective, they may be pushing for the close when the customer is really back and still trying to focus in on what's important and define their priorities, or they may be gaining knowledge about what else is out there. They're not ready to buy today. Well, that's not to say we should just step back and wait for them to come to that conclusion. I think we really need to work hard to identify where are they in that process and what can we do to help them through, to become their advisor, to really point out, hey, there may be some stages you're going through. Can I provide you information? Maybe I can ask some questions to help understand your needs so that I can better inform you and provide that information to help move you along. I think when we carefully take the time to really ask those questions and understand where they are, now we can determine, okay, what actions are we expecting the customer to take at each stage that suggests they're ready to move forward and ultimately get to the point of purchase. So if we're looking for those actions like, well, they've actually articulated what their needs are. Maybe they've even responded to a request that we've made about their priorities and they're able to articulate their priorities. They've able to share the time frame for making a decision. Well, if we haven't asked those questions, if we don't understand what those answers are, and we're pushing for a close, they're going to get reluctant. And again, as the question points out, that person is likely going to push back and may even seek another solution because they're just not at that stage yet. They're not ready to buy. So as a salesperson, I think we need to be thinking about our role as the advisor, as the consultant that really assesses where that customer is in that process and then helps to guide them through each stage, paying particular attention to what needs to happen for them to get ready so that when ultimately we get to that point of making the request or that commitment, they're in alignment. And then it's just a matter of saying yes, of confirming the details and moving forward with the deal. So again, I think it's a great question because it is one where if we're pushing because it's the end of the month or the end of the quarter, that doesn't mean anything to the customer. And frankly, they're not really interested about helping you meet your quota. What they're interested in is solving their problem. So think about that. How can we help solve their problem? What can we do to help move them through the process? And I think if we get to the end of those stages and we're aligned with the customer, we'll get that commitment in the end and we'll close that deal.